Saquon Barkley got him that job, not Jalen Hurts in New Orleans. That wasn't Jalen Hurts that got him that job. The Saints and Mickey Loomis, the general manager, saw that they pivoted off a limited passing game and went to the run attack, and they liked the fact that he could adapt, and that's what he did, and that's how he got the – look at the quarterback down there now. He looks like a better pick, the quarterback they have in New Orleans, than Cam Ward right now. Any given Sunday. That's what you get in the National Football League, is a game like you got last night. Now, here's the one thing that I will give preference to the Eagles in losing a shitty game like the Giants game 1. I'd rather have my shitty game out of the way earlier in the year while I'm still trying to find my identity out. When you're battling for a playoff spot and you lay an egg like you did last night in Atlanta and you lose a game like that, that's criminal, man. You're looking for momentum going into the postseason. That's not how you gain it. Listen, like I said, I'm watching the game last night, and I'm like, the Eagles don't lose games like this. Listen, I get New York Jets a couple years back, and New York won earlier in the year, but when you lose a game like that last night to a football team that had nothing to play for, nothing, zero, they're getting ready for the April draft. That team had nothing to play for. You know, there were players that were playing for jobs. Remember, I told you guys this. By the way, please hit the like button. And Super Chats go to the top. Let me say this to you, too. Here's the wild thing about that Atlanta victory now. No matter what happens on Sunday or Saturday it is, between Carolina and the Bucs, if the Bucs win on Saturday versus Carolina and Atlanta beats the Saints, Carolina wins the division. The Bucs don't have control of their own destiny because of that win. Imagine that. That's the only thing you were playing for last night, was to create chaos in the already horrible NFC South. And they created it. And I am a proponent. I'm going to say it again. Having a team from the NFC South in the NFL playoffs is like having JMU or Tulane in the college football playoffs. For what? That's not the best teams in the NFL playoffs. Put the best 14 teams. I don't care what conference they're in. Fans want to see the best football. Division winners shouldn't assure you an opportunity to play in the playoffs. I mean, best teams should get in. You should play yourself in. I don't know. The NFC South has been the worst division in football since Brady left Tampa. I mean, they were pretty. Remember the year that the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl? They didn't win the NFC South. New Orleans did. So it was good when Brady was there. After Brady left, it was terrible. Let's see. Are you tired of trying to tell my friends that the Rams are so scary? We told you this all season while you honey glazed the Rams. Don't run. It's called accountability. The Rams are front runners. They stink. My friend, once again, if you think you have a more balanced football team than the Rams, you're high. Appreciate the super, my friend. Thank you. So it's the funny thing about the Falcons when the Rams still have their first-round pick. Well, again, it may be the Philadelphia Eagles on the road in Philadelphia. By the way, the cool thing that I get all the time is now you have people and you have these glazed donut Eagle fans trying to tell me Stafford threw 3 picks last night. He's still the slam dunk MVP. He's still the slam dunk most valuable player. I mean, it's not a debate. He is going to win the most valuable player award. By the way, we have our all-pro team today. We also have our top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 teams will do that. Coordinator spoke as well. Also, we got a question coming up here in a second, but yeah, I mean, listen, last night shows you that was, in my opinion, an absolutely terrible loss for the Rams. And for whatever reason, and I agree with John McMullen, starting Michael Penix at the beginning of the year. This whole thing has been screwed up in Atlanta under Raheem Morris's time as head coach there. You give him $48 million a year, then a month later you draft Michael Penix out of Washington as your number one overall pick. You were never solidified at the quarterback position during Raheem Morris's entire time as the Atlanta Falcons head coach. You never figured it out. If you have Kirk Cousins starting all year long, keeping him upright and keeping him healthy, you win that division. Don't you think Drake May for MVP? I think Drake May is going to be a great player. But I believe that Drake May is going to be a second, and he's going to be a close second, in my opinion. Okay? I think he's going to be. Guys, hit the like button. We appreciate it. Yeah, my takeaway from the Rams, obviously, listen, if people are going to use the excuse that Devontae Adams not being in that offense doesn't give the offense the credibility and the stability that they need to go into the playoffs, well, you're not going to win football games in the postseason. You got to close out games like that, man. This is your dress rehearsal. You're getting ready. I think it also speaks to a lot of what we said this year about the NFL. This is the land of mediocrity. There's really no spectacular team. I think it makes it, in a way, more exciting on who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, there's nobody that's above anything, and there's no team really that doesn't have a dent in the fender. Everyone's got a problem. Okay? Chicago, is it experience? Having not been there? Like I said, I think that's overrated. I saw the Dallas Cowboys, and I gave you an example. Dallas Cowboys kicked the living tar out of the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl, and the Bills had gone to 3 Super Bowls, and they beat the piss out of them. You got better football players. You got a better team. You got a better quarterback. I don't give a shit how experienced you are. You're going to win ball games. Dude, this comes down to talent. That stuff, well, we played 4 years ago, and we've been to the playoffs 5 years ago. That has nothing to do with 2025. How in the world can you tie that in when everybody at the beginning of the year said this is a brand new football team? Even the Eagles addressed that by not using the word repeat or defending or whatever that thing was. Even they don't bring it up. You got a brand new football team. And quite frankly, those veteran guys that you isolate all the time have underachieved. Most notably on the offensive side, they've underachieved. The entire unit. Isn't it wild? You can have some guys with some pretty decent numbers. And then you turn around and you look at the unit. The unit is not performed well. I'm talking the offense. By the way, the new trends are out. We'll also look at that. We'll also go down the line. Do the trends really tell the story of the 2025 Eagles? So we'll go down that lane as well. But again, I'll give you my all-pro team a little bit later on. We'll get your thoughts on it too. Hit that like button. So here, do you believe that the Philadelphia Eagles need a dress rehearsal? Do they need to play their guys a little more this Sunday against the Commanders? Cowboys just waived Diggs. I saw that. A lot of money going to hit the cap there too. Okay? No, you're good. You feel comfortable going into a football playoff game with that offense playing like that? Really? Well, then how in the hell can you tell me coming out of the Raider game and Commander game, you guys felt like you had momentum going into that Buffalo game offensively? The Buffalo game showed me that the Commander game and the Raider game, it was fool's gold again for your offense. Your defense, on the other hand, I'll rest my guys there. Offensively, those guys need all the work they can get, man. Your center and your left guard are getting destroyed this year. Almost every single game, they've lost their battle against mediocre D linemen. You've really, if you look at the schedule that you've played, you really haven't played really great defensive tackles outside of Kansas City and I would say Dallas with Quinnen Williams. You really haven't played any superior defensive tackles. New York with Lawrence, too, I would say. I'd throw that in there. So you feel comfortable going in to a playoff game with an offense that had 16 yards and total offense in the second half. Okay. Silz Patillo needs blame, but Kellen Moore didn't make Hurts elite. No, he didn't. Basically, what he did was he moved away from Hurts. He went to Barkley. He was covered by the run. I was one of the few people that said that Kellen Moore wasn't very good a year ago when it came to the offensive passing game, which he was brought in to do. Kellen Moore was brought in a year ago, my friends, not to improve the run game. You already have that with Jeff Stoutland. He was brought in to improve the pass game. He's a passing coordinator. When he realized he couldn't do it, they stuck with the run. What did he do in the passing game? I'll tell you this. If Barkley had the same year that he had this year, last year, Kellen Moore would have been fired. Okay? I mean, Saquon Barkley got him that job, not Jalen Hurts in New Orleans. That wasn't Jalen Hurts that got him that job. The Saints and Mickey Loomis, the general manager, saw that they pivoted off a limited passing game and went to the run attack, and they liked the fact that he could adapt, and that's what he did, and that's how he got the – look at the quarterback down there now. He looks like a better pick, the quarterback they have in New Orleans, than Cam Ward right now. You think next year the Eagles will bring competition at the O-line into training camp? Depending on what they do in the draft and do it in free agency. I doubt that the Eagles are going to go free agency to try to bring somebody in, so they'll probably try to go through the draft to try to do their replacements. They've been pretty successful. And let me add this context. Do you guys agree with me on this? This is the worst Philadelphia offensive line since 2020. Do you agree? Do you agree that this is the worst O-line that Philadelphia has had since 2020? Okay, I mean, you know, that year you had garbage cans blocking for Carson Wentz. This year, they look like garbage cans again. Not to that extent that you had in 2020. The problem in 2020 you had no receivers and you had no O-line. There was no way they were going to win ball games in 2020. You really were kind of makeshifting things, and the whole thing fell apart based on what you did in free agency when you pushed all your chips in with the Chris Long class. And it caught up to you in 2020. Okay, that happens. Rams went through that. The Bucs have gone through that after winning Super Bowls. So again, I mean, this is kind of where you are now. Plus, style of play has played a factor here. Style of play has hurt the O-line and the run game. Now, Barkley has ticked it up a bit. I'm glad to see him go above 4-1. But again, we're looking at a guy who's Saquon Barkley. This is who he is. This is who he's been his entire football career. Okay, so again, hit that like button. So again, for me on the dress rehearsal, do I need to see a little bit of the starters playing on Sunday? I think you're in a tough place. Offensively, you're older. You're both tackles. And for the record also, I think you're older because of style of play. You can have a lot of young names and a lot of young ages that are there, but they look old. They look tired. Don't think playing 5 years in a row of going to the postseason has not taken its toll. Go back to 21. How many games was that? 21, you went what? One game? 2022, you went what games? You went 3 games, right? 3 games. Okay, that's 4. You went another game. That's 5. Then last year, you went 4. That's 9. You played half a season in the last 5 years, with extra practice, extra preparation, you had an additional 9 games in the last 5 years. And now you're going to go into the playoffs here, and you're sitting in a wild card spot now. That potentially could be another 4 games. You're going to play 13 games if you get to the Super Bowl this year, almost a full season. Look at Kansas City. They've fallen apart because of that dynamic. Hey, when you play longer, it affects your older players more. So you're caught in a tough place. Play your veteran guys. You know, a lot of people are telling me they should play some of the guys here this weekend. Well, you're older at both tackles. Your center and guard have been destroyed all year due to injuries. Your running back, for whatever reason, has been affected by the guys up front to where it's affected him mentally. Saquon Barkley has been affected mentally because of what happened a year ago. You know, everybody keeps telling me, I talk to Xander all the time on this. You know, he's just dancing too much. He's not hitting a hole hard. Well, something has happened here. You know what it is? He doesn't trust his offensive line. He's watching those guys get killed. When you're watching game film, folks, and you're watching game film, and you're sitting here and you're clicking and you're watching the game film, and you're watching Cam Jurgens get annihilated on one-on-one pass rushing, or you're watching him get killed on one-on-one blocking for run blocking, and you're getting murdered on first and second down, the running back sees that. He sees that. He's like, well, I got to try to find a space. It's affected him mentally on his approach and how he's approaching the offensive line. Saquon Barkley has lost confidence in the O-line. That's why you're seeing so many minus plays. That's why you're seeing coordinators do this. They're flooding the lanes. They're flooding the lanes because the running back doesn't trust the offensive line, and the coaches are starting not to trust the offensive line. I'll get into Kevin Patullo and Vic, who spoke today as well. They're just not trusting it. Okay, so again, you can't really play the guys. I think your defense has done enough to do this. Get this. I have more confidence going into the postseason with the defense than I would ever think that I would ever have with the offense. And you've got all your talented players and your money on that side of the ball. What's the secret to how the Bills made it to 4 Super Bowls? Deep roster. You didn't have free agency back then. Okay, Bill Polian built that roster, not just with the first 22, but with the first 53. Back then it was 47. And you couldn't go anywhere in free agency. That was a deep football team. You have to have a deep football team to get to 4 Super Bowls or to get to Super Bowls in a short period of time over a 5-year span. You got to have great rosters, man. Your top 22 players are not going to get you and win you Super Bowls multiple. What's going to win you multiple Super Bowls is the Oren Burks, the Isaiah Rodgers, guys like that are going to be able to step in when you need a guy to step in. And you just don't have that. Now, again, you don't have that across the lane because of free agency. By the way, you want to know why the NFL is in the position it's in? Free agency. You don't have dominant football teams. Why? Because of free agency. What was the one thing that New England did better than anybody in the league for 20 years? You know what it was? They moved off of players when they still had gas in the tank. I mean, the Milton Williams deal that Howie moved off of to let him go somewhere else. Belichick and Nick Caserio and Scott Pioli would move off of those guys when they still had gas in the tank. And they would get draft picks back. And they would be cheaper on defense and cheaper on offense. Stephon Diggs' contract, or Stephon Gilmore's contract would come up. What would happen? They'd move him. If you had a defensive lineman guy who was a great football player, they would move him. They would move out from him. They didn't wait until the guy had nothing left in the tank. They moved him when they had something in the tank. Kept him young, kept him cheap. That's how New England's secret sauce won them all them championships. Stay young, stay cheap. Stay young, stay cheap. Because if you're young, you're on rookie contracts. That keeps you cheap, where you could tool the other side of the offense. Plus, the one thing in New England to keep their longevity going, they never paid anybody but Brady, the offensive lineman, and Gronk. The rest of them were interchangeable pieces. Running backs, wide receivers, all of that. How much do you think Lane return will help? A ton. A ton. Fred Johnson's a good player. Lane Johnson's a spectacular player. I mean, you think of Lane Johnson as Phillip Rivers. Okay? Phillip Rivers came off the couch and he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's what Lane is, still with gas in the tank. Phillip Rivers was playing football with very little gas in the tank, if any. He was going all off the knowledge of the game. He doesn't have an arm anymore. He can't throw the outs. He can't take the beating any longer. I mean, that's no gas in the tank, but he could still throw the ball around. Why? Knowledge. Howie Long made a great comment years ago about, just when you think you learned a game, your body breaks down. That's what happens to NFL players with longevity. And so with a guy like Lane going back in there, that's a monster move, especially if you got Jared Verse coming at you if you're in the opening round with the Rams in the wild card. Silz, why these bums want us to sign a washed Trevor Diggs? Trayvon Diggs, I have no interest in that guy. And plus, I don't believe he could play in Vic's system. I don't. He gambles too much. He's a freelancer. There's no freelancers on that secondary. Freelancers, they get pushed away. What was that guy's name? Rasul, what's his name? You had a guy here a couple of years ago. Rasul, what was his name? He was a freelance guy that jumped out of schemes. And every time he jumped out of a scheme, Jim Schwartz would go nuts on that guy. Rasul Douglas, he's a gambler guy. And sure, sometimes you're going to gamble right. With experience, you're going to get picks. But that guy would come out of his technique, and he would come out of the scheme. Every single one of those guys on that defensive side of the football with Vic wants people that play in schemes. Okay? Appreciate that, Pump. Silz, what do you think of offensive tackle from Utah, Lamalu? I think anybody out of Utah, somebody to look at. Kyle Winningham has done a great job there. He'll do the same job in Michigan as well. So I don't care about Diggs. I have no interest in Diggs. I never thought Diggs was good. I thought he was a gambling player that, again, one of the reasons why the Dallas Cowboys have struggled on defense is they have too many of those guys that jumped around blocks. So, all right, look, you're in a position where you can't rest guys. I'm going to rest dudes on defense. You know who I want to rest? Zach Bond. I might want to rest Jalen Carter. Hey, I'll tell you this. I'm going to take a look at the year that Jordan Davis had. The more you look at it, tell you what, man, he had the best year of any Eagle defensive lineman for the entire year, from the opening game to this final game, of any player, and that includes Jalen Phillips, who's only been here a short time. Now, Phillips' impact has been enormous since he came here, but it's been a short sample size. Davis has been the best D lineman on your football team this year. Some pretty impressive numbers, too, for a guy that's an interior guy, thought of as a two-down dude. Again, I think he got jobbed on the Pro Bowl for sure. Vic's words, they've been fun to coach. I heard that. That is so great a compliment. They're fun to coach. That's a great compliment from a guy like that. If I was rolling around the facility at NovaCare and I heard a guy like that, Vic Fangio, saying, hey, it's really been a pleasure to coach these guys this year. That means guys showing up to work. You put a good vibe in the building. Position meetings are fun. I'll make this comment to you, too. I bet it's a lot more fun showing up to work if you're a defensive player in Philadelphia than it is an offensive player. Because you know what you're constantly watching? Failure on offense. Not so much failure in the one-loss column. Failure individually. And I'm talking in the O-line. These meetings this year for Jeff Stoutland and that O-line must be brutal. The meetings for Clint Hurt and for Vic Fangio talking to the front seven must be so much fun. To see people getting better, to see impact players, there's just a better vibe on that side of the ball. On the offensive side, you got a wide receiver bitching. You got people complaining and throwing eggs at the OC. You got everyone complaining about everything on defense. No one's complaining about everything. And you got the coordinator saying this to you. What a pleasure it is to coach you. Hey, anytime, listen, what did John Tortorella tell you about coaching the Flyers? My wife and I know John Tortorella. Any coach, I've heard this by many coaches. Really, man, it's not really fun coaching these guys. John Tortorella said that to you about the Flyers. When you don't have a group that you have fun coaching, you don't want to show up to work. That's not fun, coaching people you don't want to coach or aren't listening to you or hearing it. But when you get a coach like Vic Fangio going, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to coach these guys. It's been a lot of fun. That guy doesn't throw like roses at people like that. That's a great compliment, man. Super chats to the top like this guy here. I love Mr. Hill. Thank you so much. Great take on the O-line. I agree. Last year beat them up. They played 21 games, but don't they have at least tried for the second seed for the extra home game? I would take safety and health over that 2 seed. Hey, why don't you do something for me, guys? Mr. Hill, I agree. But why don't you use that? Xander, what do you call it? Experience? Why don't you get back to being the Eagles? I don't give a fuck who we play. I don't want to hear what's better. Fuck it. Whoever's in that game at Lincoln Financial come Sunday, I'm going to beat your ass. What, you lost your mindset too? And you lost your balls? I mean, let's get back to what you did a year ago. Thinking you're going to beat everyone up. Picking and choosing who you want to play? Fuck that. You want to be the heavyweight champion of the world again? You want to put yourself in a mantle of greatness where you're multiple champions? What, you think it was going to be easy? Act like it. Hey, you want to be back-to-back champions? You want to be like Ali and fight Foreman and Frazier back-to-back? You want to be known as the greatest of all time? Well, fuck it. What'd you think it was going to do? An easy road to it? I love how people who sit in the stands talk like that. Jesus criminy. I don't give a shit who you line up in front of me. Let's go play, man. Let's go prove we're better than you. Let's go prove what people are saying. This team has a chance to go back-to-back. Well, if I play this guy and I go here and I'm going here, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Give me a break. Dude, I don't care if you line the 85 Bears up. Act like it. This is when you take out the banners and you start acting like defending champs. I don't care who we play. If that were me in front of a microphone and I'm playing on the Eagles, I'd be like, I don't care who we play. I don't care. Rams, Seattle, Packers. It don't matter what the helmet says. You got to come to our building. Or I'll go to your building and kick the shit out of you there too, wherever you want. You want to play on the beach at Wildwood, I'll kick your ass. What happened to that? What happened to that attitude? I think you need to get your shit right. I think you need to get your attitude right heading into this bitch. That's an attitude thing, man. Who we play, who we might. I started listening to the radio shows in Philly, and I'm going like, who cares? Act like it. Take your ring out, remind yourself of who you are. Maybe that'll click it back in for you. Jesus, criminy. Well, if we play this guy, we got to go here. We got to go. I'd rather. You know what you sound like? You sound like the Browns. I'd rather take the 3 seed and play a really Rams team that are in a slump over them, potentially catching fire late in the postseason. I don't mind that attitude. I told you this. The best thing that could happen to the Eagles is that you got Matthew Stafford at 37 has to play 4 of these bitches. I'm sick and tired of your weak-ass attitude, some of you in here. You're the Philadelphia Eagles. You just won a Super Bowl. You're going for a 5th time in the playoffs, and now you're crying about or talking about who you're going to play in the opening round. Boy, you sure don't sound like a champion. You sound like an apologist or some bullshit. You sound like you've never been there. Man, unbecoming. That's how the Bears talk. That's how the Bears are talking. That's how the Patriots are talking. Come on, man. You get your shit together. It's nice to see JD get love from Shannon Sharp and Ocho on the Nightcap show. SS seemed pretty upset with JD getting snubbed by the Pro Bowl. I got his numbers here. We're going to talk about him a little bit later on, too. I think he also had a great year. More diving into it, too. From week 1 against the Cowboys in the opener on September 4th to where you are now. Right. Okay? Yeah, man. Get your attitude here. You need to adjust your attitudes. Rah-rah speech? I don't have to give a rah-rah speech when I'm the king. I don't need rah-rah speeches. Dude, motivated players and great players don't need some guy to light a fire under you. You draft and you recruit and you hire guys with fire. If I've got to get that out of you, those aren't the people I want in my room. Okay? Like I said, I use my reference point, Jimmy Johnson, all the time. Jimmy's a Hall of Famer at both levels, college and pro. He didn't have to holler at people. He just brought the right guys in. Play the Rams, take them out early, and get this. Let me ask you something. So if you beat the Rams in the opening wild card game, how you think your momentum is going to be rolling into the next divisional game? Or maybe the NFC Championship game? Are you going to be the favorites to win a Super Bowl if you beat the Rams in the opener? 3-2. Everyone's going to be going like this. Holy shit. You know what you get? You get your Mike Tyson aura back about you. All of a sudden, people are going like this. Holy piss. That's what I want. I want people, when you throw your helmet on the field, to go, we're playing the Eagles. Right now, they're not saying that. They're saying, you know what they've done in the league? You know what the Eagles have done to themselves, actually, because taking players away. You gave the other teams hope by the inconsistency in the offense. You've given them hope. The thing what really is starting to frighten people is you're doing this. You don't want to recognize it. If you're a football player in this league and you're one of the teams making it into the playoffs on the NFC side, you're saying this shit. Damn. That defense is it's starting to have characteristics of last year. You heard me use the word characteristics? You don't want to use this. They're starting to look like they did a year ago. Because you know why? Inside your mind, you're like, holy shit, that might be as good as a year ago. I don't know yet. I think this is a mind game now. If you want to use your experience, use it mentally. Use it mentally. Because you know what you come out of that Buffalo game with? Okay? Do you know what you come out of that Buffalo game with? Holy shit. They won with no passing yards. They didn't get a first down. What happens if they get 6 first downs? Get your shit right. You guys are sounding like worms. My daughter's tougher going into rugby games. I mean, Dude, when you're the champ, you want to play the greatest teams on the planet because you want to be the greatest. The only way to be the greatest is to beat the greatest. You can't beat tomato cans and call yourself the greatest. I've been listening to shows all day long, and they are wormy. Wormy. Well, if we play here, we go here. I'm listening to IP. Well, if we get this team, we get that team, we get that. I'm like, who cares who you're playing? Line them up. Let's go. I'm the fucking champ. I'm the guy on the top of the mountain. I'll get it. Playoff seeding? Since when did that matter to you guys? By the way, I believe that's 90% of the people in that NovaCare Center believe what I'm saying right here. Fuck the Rams. Fuck Seattle. Fuck Chicago. Fuck them all, man. Dude, beat me. Hey, Rams, you know what I have the advantage over you with the Rams? I've been the bully on the block, and I've kicked your ass, and you're taking your lunch money the last 3 weeks. Every time you leave your house, I beat you up and took your lunch money. And if you're not careful, I'm going to take your girlfriend next. Says, I would like to play the Texans in the Super Bowl, so fuck. We are the Broad Street Bullies. Well, shit, stop crying about who you're going to play next. If I'm one of the other teams, I'm saying these guys can, with 0 yards and a half because of something, a smothering D, I'd be shook knowing that I can't make a mistake. That's correct. Not getting one on fourth down, going for it, forcing the other team to make mistakes coaching-wise. You know what I've become? I'll tell you this. I tweeted this out over on my X account. I think the worst coach position in pro football right now is the quarterback position. It's the worst coach position in football. I mean, when I watch quarterbacks and quarterback decisions that organizations make, John McMullen made a great comment. I mean, you start Cousins, they win the South, Atlanta. Coaching decisions at quarterback it's the worst coach position in the most important position in football. It's the quarterback position, and you got the least talented people in the NFL coaching that position. The least amount. That includes your guy. Nobody hires first-year people to run a company. Nobody hires a first-year host to help a network get going. Nobody hires a first of anything. Hey, let me hire the first guy. Hey, by the way, Mike Shanahan, he was a bum with the Raiders. He gets fired with the Raiders, gets the head coach with the Broncos, goes back to back. Very seldom do you get a guy that's going to roll in there and be a home run first year. Very seldom. Okay? Very seldom. The worst position coaches in the NFL are the people coaching these quarterbacks. Look at the play. Look at the play of the quarterbacks this year. Look at your guy. No completed passes in 2 games in the second half. Is that Hurts or is that the shitty play caller? I think it's a shitty approach by the head coach. I mean, the quarterback is playing great in the first half. You shut him down. That's a philosophical approach by the coaches. I mean, where are you going? Silz, where did the drop-off come from? Doing this. I'll tell you flat out. Head coaches, that headset that they have, there's three levels on the headsets that the head coach has. He could just listen to the offense. He could just listen to the defense. He can listen to both. Okay? And that's what his job is. And when the offensive guys start making and they have an idea, Nick will chime in like Jimmy Johnson did. No, we're going to run the ball here. Coaches have to change on the fly. All right, we're going to run the ball. Head coach wants to run the ball. The offensive coordinator doesn't make that call. The head coach does. How they're going to approach with a lead. That's his job. Every head coach's job is style of play is his. That's the makeup of the coach. Nick's conservative. They play conservative ball. With this style of quarterback, he's going to play. If he had Phillip Rivers, it's going to be wide open. And if he had Phillip Rivers in the room, he doesn't have as much control of the offense. But he does when it comes to the philosophical way of how they're going to play the game. When you have experienced quarterbacks like Stafford and with Rivers, you lose control of the approach of the game. Because he's going to go to the line of scrimmage and control what plays are going to be written and what plays are going to be orchestrated. Very simple. That's why when Bernie Kosar told you exactly back in the day, quarterbacks came to the line of scrimmage and they dissected the team that they were looking at. They were dissecting it like they were like cyborgs. And they knew immediately where the guy was, and he would spot him and point him out and holler him out. 20, 20, 20. Wide open play on the left here when running a seam route. That's why when Montana used to come to the line of scrimmage and he would go, black 80, black 80. You knew that there was their audible. Shit, everyone in the offense, you could see the secondary moving back because they wanted to get deeper to create more underneath. They don't want to beat him deep. Style of play is from the head coach, not coordinator. Okay? It's style of the game is going to be from the head coach. Hit the like button. Appreciate you guys. No completions in the second half, and they blaming Patullo. No. Here, Patullo said it today. Where was it? Let me go to Kevin Patullo. I wrote down. I got cliff notes here. Kevin Patullo. Here. So you know, cliff notes on Kevin Patullo. Told me everything I needed to know. This is on Nick. He was immediately asked right out of the question, hey, what happened in the second half? We're working through things. Basically, he didn't want to answer the question. I give him credit for even throwing that out. Here's what he said. My takeaway was, again, funny, I hear something, and then I hear people commenting on what Kevin Patullo said, and they didn't hear anything. Well, here's what I heard. They're not winning on first and second down. The offensive line were too many times in third and long. He goes, do you know what that does to your playbook? It limits you on what you're going to call when you're constantly in third and long. It's limiting him. All year long, you've been beaten on first and second down. A year ago, you were destroying teams on first and second down. This year, you're getting murdered on it. So by the time you get to third down, that's why you got 3 and outs. You have 3 and outs because first and second down, you're losing. This is Kevin Patullo. First half was really good. He goes like this. He goes, you know, we're getting out of the huddle okay. But here's what I heard John and Xander talking. Do you know why? I'll give you a Jonathan Vilma. And Jonathan Vill told me why guys like Vic Fangio are just so good at being a coordinator. Why is Jalen Hurts going down to 5 seconds before he snaps or sets the line of scrimmage? Does anybody know? Why do you think he sets the line of scrimmage? Rivers getting to the line of scrimmage with 20 seconds left. He needs more time. You know why? He can't run. Hurts can move. Hurts is dual threat. He can escape more issues. Rivers can't. Brady can't. Manning can't. Here's why. Disguising of post-snap coverages. You're going down, you're waiting for that linebacker to go to the true coverage that they're going to. You're waiting. As a quarterback, you're waiting. You'll see the guys move pre-snap. Slide to front. Sets different protections. You'll see secondaries go back to 2 or 3 coverage. And you'll go pre-snap at 5, set, and you'll know. And get this. You know what a lot of teams do after when the quarterback goes, set? They'll slide to different coverages. Post-snap, and then that's post-set. Then there's post-snap. Quarterback's got to figure all that out. That's why they're snapping the ball as close to that 5-second mark. He's trying to find the landmark, and he's trying to find his reference point in the secondary on where to go with the football. That's why you see a lot of guys go down to 5, set, and then you'll get a shift. What's the point of doing this? Getting to the line of scrimmage with 15 seconds left, and you go like this, set with 15 seconds. Guess what happens? The defense is going to be there at 15 seconds, and all of a sudden, prior to the snap of the ball, they're going to slide to a different coverage. And you're going to throw the ball, and you're going to throw a pick. Closer you get to the count where you snap the ball, where the clock, it favors the offense, not the defense, depending on who your quarterback is, though. If your quarterback's throwing Y's and Z's and no seams and no seam passes and no over the middle, and you become predictable, roll out right, rights and lefts, it favors the defense. You got 2 primary targets with an also guy with Goddard. And the key this year is you're not running the ball. Here, something else Patullo said. Yeah, he just said this. We're not winning first and second down. Right here. The plays we run, they become limited because we can't win first and second down. He's basically telling you the players in the O-line are getting murdered. Yeah. He goes like this. He said something about the experience of the playoffs. We're going to lean on that. Bro, I need to lean on you. So let me ask you something. You're going into the playoffs with a guy who's never called playoff football. And you got to rely on your quarterback more. Whew. Man. You can say all you want about Kyle Shanahan not having won games. Kevin Patullo's never called a playoff play in his life. How you feel about that? He's never called a playoff play. Well, you'll probably think that's nothing too, right? Yet you'll sit around and shit all over Detroit when they lose Ben Johnson as a coordinator. But Kevin Patullo has never called a play in his life in the postseason. But that's cool, right? Okay. We're going to find out. Okay? You got to rely on Hurts. You're damn right you got to rely on Hurts. That means you got to rely on Nick a little bit too. The least experienced person heading into the playoffs is your offensive coordinator on offense. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the least experienced guy on your football team? Xander talks about experience all the time. The least experienced dude is the dude calling plays. You feel all right about that? For an offense that sputtered all year. Okay. Okay. Well, you do have to rely on Jalen. And you'll be even more conservative in the postseason because of that. Well, what do you think? You're going to just start opening shit up? with a limited play caller, not only is the quarterback with limits, the play caller's even more limited. That's what you're going into the playoffs with. If you're talking to me and telling me how experienced your team is, okay, Bernie told you, just because you sit in a room doesn't mean you're a play caller. You could be a wide receiver coach for 17 years in the NFL. And when you're given that duty, it's a whole different job. Just like going from a coordinator to being a head coach in the NFL. That's a completely different job. Hey, how many times in that Buffalo game were you guys, and I even said it, you're running zone reads, 3rd and 8. On your 45, 3rd and 8, and you're not throwing the ball. Hey, I know it was bad weather, but Allen played in bad weather too, and he wasn't shut out in the quarter. How are you shut out? It's not because you're quarterback. It's because your mentality by your coaching staff. That second half wasn't Jalen's fault. That second half was your coach's fault on how you shut it down. Get this, Kevin Patullo goes like this, and he fucking lies. We didn't go conservative in the second half. Well, dude, if you didn't go conservative, Kevin Patullo said today that they weren't conservative in the second half. Well, if they weren't conservative in the second half, that frightens me more, because if that's your mentality, you're not qualified to be an offensive coordinator. If you really believe that, I in no way blame Hurts for the second half, especially after rewatching it. That's all head coach play calling, all that. They felt comfortable throwing it in the first half. Then they saw the lead, they saw the defense, how well they were playing, and they said, fuck it, we're not going to do anything to jeopardize that game. That's what they did. You know why? Play caller's inexperienced, and the quarterback is kind of predictable. Or wait, I'll take that back. The passing game's kind of predictable. They don't want to create turnovers or turnover opportunities. How do you create turnover opportunities in the rain? Throw the ball. What was the one turnover in the ball game that really was the game that really killed the Bills? A turnover by the quarterback. That's what killed the momentum. Buffalo was moving the ball. Totally killed the momentum. Rumor has it Shane Steichen and Ballard in Indiana are on the hot seat. Why? They lost their quarterback. I'm not sure what else they wanted to do. On the hot seat. Who are you going to bring in there? Shane Steichen, in my opinion, is the perfect coach for Daniel Jones. If you bring someone else in there, you better have Joe Brady in there, or you better bring a guy like Todd Monken in there. Because it's going to take a skill set to be able to coach that guy. By the way, I'd be very careful about firing Shane Steichen if I'm going to give Daniel Jones a 3-year contract extension, because I saw something with Steichen and Daniel Jones that I didn't see that Brian Daboll did in New York with him. You think you're really going to duplicate that again with someone else? That's an organization overthinking themselves if they fired Steichen. That'd be an amazing mistake by the Colts. It'd be an incredible mistake. So, yes, I mean, hit the like button. Appreciate you guys coming in here, man. Buffalo's not a very good, especially on defense, especially pass defense. Well, they're number 3 in pass defense in the league. And I would say this to you too, Barb. Well, if they're not very good on defense, they shut you down offensively running the football and shut you down completely offensively. You had 11 first downs in the game. So if they're not very good on defense and you think they suck, what happens when you run into a good defense like Seattle in the postseason? Seattle is a great defense. The Bills are not. So you're sitting there taking a shit on Buffalo. Now, wait a minute. Unless you're saying that, I get it. Okay? That's what you're saying. I get it. Okay, I get what you're saying. That's not a good unit. They're 30th against the run. I mean, that's not a good run defense, and they shut you down. Xander kept trying to bring that point home today to John, but he didn't want to hear it. He made one of the most important comments all year long that both shows haven't made. We haven't taken advantage, and he's talking about the Eagles, of bad defenses. He's right. What bad defense did you take advantage of? New York, too? What else? Raiders? I mean, the Minnesota game was still a one-score ball game. What game did you take advantage of a bad defense? Okay? JD rubbing off on Carter in maturity and discipline. I don't think Jalen Carter is very disciplined or mature. Who said that? What do you mean? Where did you see that this year? If anything, Jalen Carter has been absolutely immature and undisciplined this year. He's had spot games. Played really well on Sunday. I've seen him where, guess what? He's been immature and he's been spotty sometimes. I don't think he's been mature or disciplined this year, to say the least. Jordan Davis has been the best lineman from week 1 to where you are right now. And I said it earlier, Jalen Phillips' impact has been enormous. I mean, Here's Jordan Davis. Yeah, here's Jordan Davis this year. Jordan Davis has 70 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 9 TFLs. It's fucking great. 70 tackles for a guy who plays majority on first and second down? That's a lot. That's doubled his number of any year he's been in the league. It's doubled. He's usually around 30. He's got 70 tackles, 4.5 sacks. How that guy's done on the Pro Bowl is, and he's got 9 TFLs. For those of you out, that's tackles for losses. Those numbers are spectacular. For an interior lineman who plays traditionally or thought of as being a first and second down, they're better than I thought. JD will have a C on his chest. Actually, he's turning out to be more of a leader than Carter. My book. That's a great year. Okay, that's a great year. Like I said, I'm hard on that guy, but I will give him kudos when I see it. It's a great year. He should be commended. I think the fifth-year option, it worked. If you're Philadelphia and you're Howie, you're happy that that worked. Them telling you, hey, we want you here. Here's the 5th year. We're picking it up. I'll tell you what. You know how you guys say Pro Bowl doesn't matter? Do you understand that if you get a Pro Bowl and then you talk contract extension, there's 3 tiers of this. You go to a 2nd tier, you go to a 1 tier if you're named All Pro. You make more money in your This is why fans fucking don't, and you aggravate me sometimes. When you make All Pro and you make a Pro Bowl, your next contract negotiation, you're at tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and level of income that there's a floor and a base that you can't go below because of the collective bargaining agreement. But because Davis didn't make a Pro Bowler, and he's not, the Eagles get to dictate salary to him. He lost huge money on a 3-year deal because he wasn't named to the Pro Bowl. Don't ever tell me that making the Pro Bowl doesn't matter. It matters in every contract negotiation. Google it. If you make All Pro or Pro Bowl, does it affect your contract extensions? Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Look it up. It's in the CBA. You can go to NFLPA.com.